The massive alien ship floated quietly in the darkness of space, its powerful scanners looking down at the blue and green planet below. Commander Velthor, a tall creature with silver skin and 4 arms, watched the glowing screens in front of him. His large eyes showed no excitement as numbers and pictures flashed across the displays. "Scanning complete, Commander," said Science Officer Crixtel, his voice making a buzzing sound through the ship's speakers. "The planet has many living things, trees, animals, water creatures, but no smart beings anywhere." Velthor nodded slowly. This was the same story on most worlds they visited. Life was common in the galaxy, but thinking life was rare. "What about those 2-legged creatures we saw walking around?" "Just animals, sir. Our bioscanners show they have simple brains like the furry creatures on Zephyron Prime. They build basic shelters and use sticks as tools, but nothing more." Far below on the planet's surface, Dr. Kim Taho sat in a hidden room carved deep inside Mount Fuji. The walls around him glowed with soft blue light from dozens of floating screens. His hands moved quickly over controls that existed only as light and energy, technology so advanced it seemed like magic. "They think we're pets," he said quietly, speaking into a device no bigger than his thumb. His words traveled instantly through quantum space to a woman sitting 300 miles away in Seoul. Dr. Park Min-ji received the message in her underground office, buried 50 floors beneath the busy streets above. She was a small woman, with sharp eyes and graying hair, but her mind worked faster than any computer. Around her, hundreds of other humans worked at similar light-based controls, all of them pretending to be simple animals while coordinating the most complex deception. "In human history?" "Good," she replied. "That means our neural masking is working perfectly. How long before they leave?" "Hard to say. They're taking pictures of Lee Dongwoo's farm right now. They seem to think his rice planting is interesting animal behavior." And G almost smiled. Lee Dongwoo was actually Dr. Lee Dongwoo, one of Earth's best quantum engineers. But to the aliens above, he looked like a simple farmer using wooden tools to plant seeds. They couldn't see the invisible network of processors built into every grain of soil, couldn't detect the quantum computers smaller than rice grains that made their entire deception possible. Above ground, Lee Dongwoo bent over his rice plants, moving slowly and carefully. His clothes were simple brown cloth, his tools were carved wood, and his face showed the patient expression of a man who had farmed all his life. The alien scanners watching him saw exactly what they expected to see, a primitive creature following. Instincts passed down through generations, but beneath his feet, machines more advanced than anything the aliens possessed were working constantly. They created false readings for every scanner, made fake heat signatures, and even controlled the weather in small ways to make everything look natural. The aliens' own technology was being used against them, their signals intercepted and modified. Before reaching their ship, Commander Velthor watched the farmer through his screens. "Fascinating," he said. "Look how carefully it places each plant. There's almost intelligence in those movements." "Almost, but not quite," agreed Crixtel. "Our tests show their brain activity is similar to the pack animals on Zarian. They can learn simple tasks and work together, but they cannot think in abstract ways or create true technology." Neither alien realized that their conversation was being recorded and analyzed by Dr. Kim Taho, who spoke 17 alien languages and had been studying their species for 20 years. Every word they said was being shared with Earth's leaders, helping humanity understand exactly how to maintain their disguise in the Seoul Command Center. Dr. Min-ji watched dozens of screens showing alien ships, human settlements, and the careful dance of deception happening all over the planet. Some screens showed families in small villages, cooking over fires and telling stories, while others showed the same people hours later, working in advanced laboratories and planning humanity's next moves. "Status report," she said quietly. "Surface settlements maintaining cover," came the reply from operators around the room. "No alien suspicions detected. The neural dampening fields are holding steady." "What about the children?" "They're adapting well. Most think it's an exciting game of hide-and-seek." Min-ji nodded, but her expression remained serious. This was no game. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for 60 years, ever since their first secret contact with alien civilizations. They had learned that the galaxy was full of species that conquered or enslaved planets with primitive life. The only way to survive was to hide their true nature until they were strong enough to protect themselves. Dr. Kim, Teho's voice came through the quantum link again. Commander Velthor is requesting permission to establish a research station. They want to study us more closely. Minji closed her eyes for a moment. Approved. Maintain Protocol 7. Let them think they're studying animals. Above the alien ship prepared to land, its crew excited to study the interesting creatures below. They had no idea they were about to become the subjects of the greatest scientific deception in galactic history. 3 weeks had passed since the tall silver aliens built their research station in the forest. Dr. Velter stood in his observation room, watching the screens that showed the strange two-legged creatures moving around outside. His 4 eyes blinked slowly as he studied their behavior. "Look at this," he said to his assistant, pointing at a group of humans gathering berries. "They make sounds to each other. Not random noises, but patterns. I think they might have a simple language." The humans were led by a man named Choi Seung-min, who wore dirty clothes and carried a wooden basket. To the aliens, his voice sounded like basic animal calls. Short grunts and simple words that their computers said were no more complex than bird songs. But if they could have understood human speech, they would have heard him giving detailed instructions about quantum field generators and neural dampening frequencies. "Remember, keep your biosignatures at mammalian levels," Seung-min said quietly, as he picked berries. "The aliens are watching us more closely now. They think we're developing language, so we need to be extra careful." The woman next to him, who appeared to be his mate, nodded and made what sounded like agreeing animal noises. In reality, she was Dr. Kim Hae-won, an expert in alien psychology who had been studying Velthor species for 15 years. She knew exactly what the aliens expected to see and hear. Far below the forest floor, in a city that existed in complete darkness, Dr. Yang Soo-bin worked at her control station. The walls around her were covered with thousands of tiny lights, each one representing a holographic projector hidden somewhere on the surface. Her job was to make sure the aliens saw only empty wilderness where Earth's greatest cities actually stood. "Projection field stable," she reported to her team. "The aliens flew over New Tokyo this morning and saw nothing but trees and grass." Her colleague, Dr. Oh Hyun-woo, sat at a nearby station listening to alien communications through devices so small they could fit inside a grain of sand. He had placed these tiny spies all over the alien research station, and now he could hear everything they said. "The aliens are writing reports about us," he said with a small smile. "They think we're adorable." One scientist wrote that our social behavior reminds him of his pet Zerk from childhood. "What's a Zerk?" asked Subin. "A furry animal that lives in packs and can learn simple tricks. Apparently we're just as cute and harmless." Above ground, the aliens continued their studies. They followed human families as they moved through the forest, collected human waste to analyze their diet, and even tried to teach some humans simple tasks using colored blocks. The humans played along perfectly, acting confused by complex puzzles, but showing just enough intelligence to be interesting. Choi Seung-min was particularly good at this act. When the aliens showed him pictures of different shapes, he would point at the right ones, but slowly, as if thinking very hard. The aliens were thrilled when he learned to stack blocks in a simple pattern after only 2 hours of practice. "Incredible learning ability," Dr. Velthar noted in his report. "Tugged shows clear problem-solving skills. With proper training, these creatures might even learn to use basic tools." What the aliens didn't know was that Seung-min had designed the quantum processors that made their deception possible. In his previous life, before the Great Hiding began, he had been one of Earth's most brilliant scientists. Now he pretended to be amazed by wooden blocks while mentally calculating probability, matrices that would have impressed even the aliens. Every evening, when the aliens thought the humans were sleeping in their primitive shelters, the real work began. Hidden elevators disguised as tree stumps carried people down to the underground cities. There, in vast chambers lit by artificial suns, millions of humans lived in comfort and luxury that surpassed anything the aliens had ever built. Dr. Yang Subin would leave her berry-gathering disguise behind and return to her laboratory, where she worked on improvements to the holographic systems. Dr. Oh Hyun-woo traded his simple farmer clothes for the white coat of a communications expert, analyzing everything the aliens had learned and planning humanity's next moves. Children who had spent the day playing with sticks and stones returned to schools, where they learned advanced mathematics and quantum physics. Adults who had pretended to struggle with fire-making went back to jobs designing faster-than-light engines and dimensional barriers. The aliens are getting more interested in us, Hyun-woo reported during the evening briefing. They're talking about extending their stay to continue studying our development. Good, replied Dr. Park Min-ji through the quantum communicator. The longer they stay, the more we learn about them. Keep the performance going. What if they try to take some of us back to their home planet for study? Asked Subin. Been planned for, Min-ji answered. We have volunteers ready to go. They'll maintain the deception, even in alien laboratories. As the alien research station settled into sleep mode for the night, the humans continued their double lives. Above ground, they appeared to be simple animals huddled together for warmth. Below ground, they were the most advanced civilization. In the galaxy, hiding in plain sight while learning everything they could about their visitors. The deception was working perfectly. And the aliens suspected nothing. The peaceful morning was shattered when dark ships appeared in the sky like angry storm clouds. These vessels were different from Dr. Velthar's research ship. They were black as night, covered in sharp edges and weapon ports that glowed with deadly red light. The Vortok Empire had arrived, and they brought nothing but destruction, Commander. Grakmar stood on the bridge of his flagship, his massive form casting shadows across the control room. Unlike the curious scientists who had been studying Earth, Grakmar was a warrior. His species had conquered dozens of worlds, and he saw this blue planet as just another prize to be claimed.
What is this place?
He demanded, his voice rumbling like distant thunder. Research Station Nexus Prime has been studying the local wildlife, reported his lieutenant. The planet contains many animals, but no intelligent species. Grakmar looked at the screens, showing human settlements scattered across the landscape. To him, they appeared to be simple animal dwellings, no different from bird nests or beaver dams. These creatures are blocking our mining sites. Remove them. Dr. Velthar had rushed to the Vortok command ship as soon as he heard about their arrival. Now he stood before the massive warrior, his forearms trembling with worry. Commander, please reconsider. These beings show signs of developing intelligence. Galactic Accords protect such species. Protection laws apply only to thinking beings, Grakmar replied coldly. Your own reports confirm these are simple animals. We need the minerals beneath their nests. But they have families, social structures. They even communicate with each other. So do the insects on my home world. That doesn't make them worthy of protection. The first attack came without warning. A bright blue beam shot down from the Vortok ship, striking the village where Han Jiwoo lived with his wife and 2 children. The energy blast vaporized their wooden house and 7 others nearby, sending the surviving humans running in terror toward the forest. To the aliens watching from above, it looked exactly like frightened animals fleeing from a predator. They saw humans stumbling, falling, helping each other, and crying out in fear. What they didn't see was the careful organization behind the apparent chaos, or the hand signals that Jiwoo used to coordinate the evacuation. Han Jiwoo had once been General Han Gi-woo, one of Earth's greatest military minds. Now, as laser fire rained down around him, he activated protocols that had been prepared for exactly this situation. His seemingly panicked voice carried coded messages to every human in the valley, turning their retreat into a precise military operation disguised as animal flight 300 miles away. In the Seoul Underground Command Center, Dr. Kim Tae-ho watched the attack through hidden cameras. His hands gripped the edge of his control desk so tightly his knuckles turned white. On the screens, he could see the bodies of people he had known, friends, colleagues, fellow guardians of humanity's greatest secret. Casualty report, he said quietly. 37 confirmed dead, came the reply. 86 wounded but evacuated. All survivors are safely underground. Dr. Kim Tae-ho closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of every lost life. These people had died to maintain the illusion, to keep humanity's true nature hidden until the right moment. Now that moment had arrived. The communication system crackled to life with a voice that few humans had ever heard directly. President Yoon Seojin spoke from her hidden bunker beneath the Pacific Ocean, her words carrying the authority of Earth's secret government. "The Vortak have crossed the line," she said. "They've murdered our people and declared us animals. Authorization is granted for Phase 2 revelations. Show them what animals can do." Within hours, strange things began happening to the Vortak forces. Their supply drops, which should have contained food and equipment, were found to contain something else entirely. The food had been replaced with earth flowers arranged in perfect geometric patterns. The equipment had been taken apart and put back together, but in ways that made no sense. Weapons that fired backwards, communication devices that played human music, and tools that had been turned into sculptures. "How is this possible?" demanded Lieutenant Corvell, staring at a supply crate filled with origami cranes made from military ration packages. "Animals cannot do this. It must be some kind of natural phenomenon," Grokmer replied, but his voice showed doubt. "Perhaps the planet's magnetic field affects our technology." Their communication arrays began developing problems too. Messages between ships would arrive garbled, but in specific ways that seemed almost like jokes. Battle plans would be changed to include suggestions for better tactical approaches. Supply requests would be answered with shopping lists for human groceries. Dr. Oh Hyun-woo, monitoring the alien communications from his underground station, allowed himself a small smile as he introduced another glitch into their systems. Each modification was subtle but noticeable, designed to make the aliens question their assumptions without revealing humanity's true capabilities. "They're getting frustrated," he reported to his team. "The Vortak are blaming their equipment failures on solar radiation, but some of their scientists are starting to ask questions." Above ground, the humans continued their performance, appearing to be simple refugees hiding in the forest. But below, Earth's greatest minds were preparing for the next phase of their plan. Ready to show the galaxy what happened when you underestimated humanity, the morning sun filtered through the forest. Canopy as Sergeant Kordak led his hunting party deeper into the woods. His team of 12 Vortak warriors moved in formation, their heavy boots crushing the undergrowth as they searched for the human animals that had fled from the mining site. Their scanners showed heat signatures scattered throughout the forest. But the readings were strange, too organized, too purposeful for frightened creatures. "There," whispered Private Zekin, pointing to movement between the trees. "I see 3 of them." The humans appeared to be a family, a male, female, and young one, gathering berries near a stream. They looked up at the approaching soldiers with wide, frightened eyes, then turned and ran deeper into the forest. The Vortak followed, confident in their ability to track simple animals. But as they pursued their prey, something felt wrong. The humans didn't run in panic as expected. Instead, they moved with purpose, leading the soldiers along specific paths, through certain clearings, past particular landmarks. Kordak's military training told him this was unusual, but his orders were clear. These were animals, nothing more. The first trap was so subtle that the Vortak didn't realize they had walked into it. The ground beneath their feet looked solid, but it was actually a carefully constructed platform that gave way when they reached the center of a clearing. The entire squad fell 15 feet into a pit lined with soft moss. They were unharmed, but confused. "How did animals build this?" asked Sekon, looking up at the perfectly smooth walls. "Natural formation," Kordak replied firmly. "Some kind of sinkhole." But their weapons were gone. It's not destroyed or damaged, simply missing. The soldiers climbed out of the pit to find their rifles neatly stacked against a nearby tree, but completely disabled. Every power cell had been removed, every firing mechanism carefully disconnected. It would have taken hours of skilled work. To accomplish this level of disassembly, animals cannot do this, Sekon said quietly. "Animals did not do this," Kordak growled. Must be some other explanation. The second hunting party, led by Captain Zervik, entered the forest with twice as many soldiers and better equipment. They had learned from Kordak's experience and moved more carefully, checking for traps and keeping their weapons ready. But the forest seemed to have other plans. The trees themselves appeared to be working against them. Branches would snap at precisely the right moment to block their path. Vines would tangle around their feet just as they stepped forward. Birds would cry out warnings that seemed to coordinate with human movements in the distance. It was as if the entire ecosystem was protecting the fleeing animals. "This is impossible," muttered Zervik, as his team became separated in what should have been a simple patrol. Trained soldiers, not explorers lost in a garden. One by one, his men began to disappear. Not violently, they would simply fall. Asleep where they stood, overcome by a strange drowsiness that their medical scanners couldn't explain. When they woke up hours later, they found themselves in comfortable beds made of woven grass, their armor removed and folded neatly beside them. Their weapons had been taken apart and rebuilt into abstract sculptures that somehow still functioned perfectly. In the hidden city beneath Seoul, Dr. Park Min-ji watched the operations through dozens of screens. Her command center buzzed with quiet activity as teams coordinated the carefully planned encounters. Each interaction with the Vortak was designed to plant seeds of doubt while maintaining the illusion of animal behavior. Team 7, excellent work on the mining disruption, she said into her communication device. The Vortak think their equipment malfunctioned, but 3 of their engineers are starting to ask questions about the precision of the damage. Team 12, the neural scramblers worked perfectly. The patrol woke up thinking they had wonderful dreams about peaceful forest creatures, but their unconscious minds recorded everything they saw, and those memories will surface gradually. High in the forest canopy, Jang Kyung-ho moved like a shadow between the trees. His suit was made of materials that bent light around him, making him invisible to alien sensors. He had been a commando before the Great Hiding began, and now he'd used those skills to protect humanity's secret below him. The Vortak search team stumbled through the undergrowth, their movements clumsy and loud. Kyung-ho followed them silently, occasionally adjusting their path by moving a branch here, creating a sound there. To the aliens, it seemed like they were tracking fleeing animals. In reality, they were being herded toward a specific location. Where other humans waited, the revelation began slowly, like dawn breaking over a mountain. Commander Grokmer stood in his command center, staring at reports that made no sense. Hunting parties that vanished and reappeared with no memory of where they had been, equipment that was disabled with surgical precision, security footage that showed humans moving in patterns too complex for simple animals. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "need to see this." On the main screen, the forest was changing. The empty wilderness that their scanners had shown for weeks was shimmering, like heat waves rising from summer pavement. But as the shimmering faded, massive structures began to appear, towers of crystal and metal that reached toward the sky, cities that dwarfed the alien outposts, technology that gleamed with impossible beauty. The animals they had been hunting were never animals at all. The forest clearing shimmered like water in the morning light as Dr. Kim Tae-ho stepped forward. His rough farmer clothes began to change, flowing like liquid metal until they formed a sleek uniform covered in strange symbols. The transformation was so smooth and beautiful that even the hardened Vortak soldiers stopped to stare. "Good morning," he said, his voice now carrying the confident tone of someone used to speaking with world leaders. "I am Dr. Kim Tae-ho, First Contact Specialist for the Terran Federation. I believe we have much to discuss, Commander Velthar." S4 eyes widened in disbelief. His scientific mind struggled to process what he was seeing. The simple farmer who had been gathering berries just days ago was now speaking perfect Galactic Standard, using words and phrases that took most species decades to learn. "This cannot be real," Velthar whispered. "Our bioscanners detected no advanced brain activity. You registered as simple mammals, nothing more." A woman appeared beside Tae-ho as if materializing from thin air. Dr. Park Min-ji's camouflage suit, dissolved to reveal clothing that looked like it belonged in a science fiction movie. She carried a small device that hummed with barely contained energy. "Your scanners work exactly as designed," she explained calmly. "They detect the neural patterns that most intelligent species produce, but humans evolve differently. we developed. The ability to mask our true thoughts, to appear simple when we needed to survive. Behind them, the trees began to fade away, like images on a broken television screen. What the aliens had thought was empty forest was actually a massive holographic projection. As the false images disappeared, they revealed gleaming metal platforms, landing pads where ships waited with engines that glowed like captured stars. Commander Grokmer pushed through his stunned troops, his massive frame trembling with rage. In confusion, impossible. We scanned this entire planet. There are no cities, no technology, no signs of advanced civilization. There are 47 major cities on this planet, Minji replied, touching her device. Would you like to see them? The sky above them began to ripple and shift. Invisible barriers fell away like curtains being drawn back, revealing structures that reached toward the clouds. Towers of crystal and metal stretched higher than the aliens' own ships, connected by bridges that seemed to be made of pure light. Flying vehicles moved between the buildings in perfect formations, their paths creating geometric patterns in the air. By the 7 moons, breathed Science Officer Crystal. How long have you been hiding this? Our civilization has been spacefaring for 73 years, answered a new voice. President Yoon Seogn appeared on a floating screen, her image transmitted from her command center beneath the Pacific Ocean. We have colonies on Mars, Europa, and 12 other worlds in this system. We've been watching the galactic community for quite some time. The Vortok soldiers raised their weapons, but found them strangely heavy in their hands. The devices that had seemed so powerful just moments ago now felt like toys. Lights blinked on their rifle displays, showing messages in perfect Vortek. Script that read, "Please do not point weapons at diplomatic personnel. Thank you for your cooperation. You've been studying us," Grokmer accused. "Learning our weaknesses, planning an attack." "We've been learning, yes," Teho admitted. "But not to attack, to survive." "Do you know what happens to primitive worlds? When they're discovered by advanced civilizations, they're conquered, enslaved, or eliminated. We chose a different path." The truth unfolded like a flower blooming in fast motion. Humanity had made first contact with alien civilizations decades ago, but had chosen to remain hidden. They had learned that the galaxy was full of species that saw less advanced worlds as resources to be exploited. The only way to survive was to appear harmless until they were strong enough to defend themselves. "The humans you studied were volunteers," Minji explained. "Scientists, soldiers, and teachers who agreed to live simple lives on the surface, while our real civilization developed underground and in space. They maintained the illusion perfectly, never breaking character, even when you killed their friends and family." "You let us murder your people," Velther said quietly, "just to maintain a deception. We've sacrificed 37 lives to save 7 billion, President Yoon replied. "It was not an easy choice, but it was necessary. Those people died knowing they were protecting their entire species." The Vortok Empire's ships began to retreat, their commanders finally understanding that they were no longer the most powerful force in the system. The vessels that had seemed so impressive when they arrived now looked small and crude compared to the human ships that rose from hidden launch bays. "We don't want war," Teho said, watching the alien fleet prepare to leave. "We want to take our place as equals in the galactic community. But we will defend ourselves if necessary." Commander Velthar looked around at the incredible technology surrounding him, then back at the human who had pretended to be amazed by colored blocks just days ago. "What happens now?" "Now," Minji replied with a smile, "we stop hiding. Humanity is ready to meet the galaxy as we truly are, not as prey, but as partners." The age of deception was over. As the age of humanity among the stars had begun,